Okay, today's topic is externalities and market failure. So we will consider a few cases of market failure, positive and negative externalities. These are dealing with pollution. The most important ones are water contamination and air pollution. Should the society eliminate pollution altogether? That's one way to solve the problem. There are many other solutions. How to internalize external costs, we will be studying. And also common property resources. In some countries, land is publicly owned. These are called common property resources. And the market does not, there are many instances in which the market mechanism does not allocate resources in a desirable fashion. The most prominent example would be the siege of Leningrad from 1941, from September 1941 to early 1944, for I think 872 days, when you are surrounded by enemies and there is no incoming food supplies. These Russians were in a dire situation. And in such a case, in such a situation, you would not be interested in maximizing consumer welfare. Survival is far more important. So what's the problem with the market mechanism in that case? Only the rich will be able to buy food. The poor ones, because they don't have enough money, they cannot pay. So only the rich ones will be surviving in that case. So the market mechanism does not allocate resources in a desirable fashion. Market allocation is efficient, but it may not be desirable. Okay, only the rich ones will survive. Okay, so during the siege of Leningrad, the Russian people allocated rationed food supplies. So women and children were allocated 300 grams of bread. That would be like 2/3 of a pound per day. And the adult and soldiers were allocated 500 grams, a little over 1 pound of bread for many decades. Even so, according to a friend of mine who grew up in that city during that period, noted that more than 1 million people starved to death. Okay, so that's an example of market failure and how governments or countries can fix this problem, okay? So let's examine a few cases of market failure. Here is a picture of a boy taking a measles vaccine shot last year. We don't have COVID virus vaccine shots yet, but I'm told that they will be available soon, maybe before, some will be available before the end of the year. And by the end of next year, most Americans would receive vaccine shots. Okay, here is another picture, a bunch of tires underwater. Aha. Do fishermen like these tires? Probably not. Swimmers, no. So this is a case of external costs. People are dumping these waste industrial tires, etc. And that imposes costs on other members of the society. Here is another example. A bunch of almond trees blooming in the spring, and lo and behold, there are a bunch of beehives, beekeeper boxes lined up with these almond trees. Why? Because these almond trees need bees to pollinate, so they would have lots of almond production. So these orchard owners benefit from the presence of these bee hives, bee boxes. Similarly, in return, these beekeepers, because of the proximity of these almond trees, these bees are able to collect honey very quickly. Instead of flying several miles to collect small sample of honey, they can produce honey right here. So beehive owners, beekeeper owners, bee box owners benefit from the presence of these almond trees. So in this case, they are mutually beneficial to the other industry, okay? So beekeepers confer positive welfare benefits to orchard owners, and in return, these orchard owners also help these beekeepers by reducing their cost of producing honey, okay? They both agents are mutually beneficial. They benefit from each other's presence, okay? Here is one example of transboundary pollution. It doesn't look obvious at first glance. Venice appeared for the first time in history when Attila the Hun came over to Europe from Central Asia and destroyed most of these European Visigoths and Lombards and so on. And all these Europeans ran away, and there was no place to which they could run away. But there was one place except Venice, because this is surrounded by ocean. Attila the Hun and their barbarian compatriots could not jump over. So Venice became very popular for these European people. And because of global warming, temperature was rising, and glaciers in the Arctic regions were melting, and that causes a rise in the sea level here. So in Venice, the sea level is rising, okay? You can see algae are accumulating on the steps. And this has been, every year, this has been rising, invading, encroaching the footsteps of many houses in Venice. Later on, I will show you a picture that I took. Okay, so there are positive and negative externalities. In a free market, like the United States and European countries, economic decisions are based on private benefits and costs. But many times, economic decisions affect the benefits or costs imposed on other members of the society. And these benefits and costs imposed on other members of the society are called externalities, okay? So in this case, market mechanism does not allocate resources efficiently, because market allocation depends solely on the private benefits and costs. Here is a case of positive externalities. I've been living in Hong Kong and Macau for more than 10 summers, and this bridge, now completed, was being built way out in the sea. Now it's complete. It's called the Hong Kong Macau Zhuhai Bridge, and this bridge is going to stimulate trade among these three cities, Hong Kong, Macau, and Zhuhai. Zhuhai is on the southern coast of China. Macau is on the other side. Now, which used to be a Portuguese colony, but now returned to China, right? Likewise, Hong Kong was returned to China in 1997. China guaranteed 50 years of no manipulation, but I think they broke up they broke that promise. So these bridge or highways, now called bridge of death, because it's causing a lot of bureaucracy. In order to drive your cars through this bridge, you have to get visas from 3 cities. So that will be somewhat cumbersome. Without these visas, maybe the bridge will stimulate international commerce among the 3 cities. This is an example of positive externality. Because of this bridge, there would be more trade among these 3 cities, and all of them would benefit. Negative externalities means some economic activities, consumption or production activities will produce byproducts like pollution and pesticides, which are costs imposed on other economic agents. So how do people resolve these externalities? I don't have a picture of Jericho. This is supposed to be the oldest city. Maybe this was founded maybe by about 8,000 BC. Most cities in Sumer or Iraq now, in the region of Iraq, is about 5,000 years old. So when these archaeologists were digging up Jericho, this is what they found. This level, they saw many mounds. Why? Because, well, when the first people settled in the city, they built houses and they throw away garbages around the house. They don't want to walk 1 mile to get rid of their garbages. So they poured garbages, threw away garbages right next to their houses. And after many decades, that was full of garbage. So they piled up more garbages, more and more garbages. So the mound was rising, okay? And then by the time it became too painful, you want to go downhill and to get rid of garbages. So they left. Yeah, I'm tired of moving garbages. So they left, they abandoned the old housing and moved to another place where it's cleaner. So archaeologists are digging from the top. Hey, I found some artifacts here. So the deeper the deeper you go, the older the settlement is. So, I found oil lamp here. That must be several hundred years before this layer and so on. This is how archaeologists date the timing of the settlements in the Middle East. Here is a picture of Gaza Strip. Where is Gaza? This Mediterranean Sea. Here's the island of Crete. On the right side, this is the eastern Mediterranean coast. And top half is Lebanon. Bottom half is, roughly speaking, Israel. And on the eastern coast, you have a Gaza Strip, rectangular strip of Arab village. It's called Gaza Strip. And this Gaza Strip exchanged hands many times during the Middle Ages because the Knights Templar conquered Jerusalem after the First Crusade War. And then it was reverted back to Arabs because of Saladin reconquered this city, and the Crusade was never able to recover it since then. So in this Arab village, we don't have, Gaza was known for its quality wine. But these Arabs arose in the Middle East in the 7th century AD, well, 622 AD. And according to Quran, this is their Bible, the Bible for the Arabs. The Quran prohibits consumption of wine because the Prophet reportedly said that the cost far outweighs the benefits of wine. So it's best not to drink wine. So these Arab government banned the consumption of wine. So this is like prohibition in the 1930s in the United States. So yeah, wines impose external costs on other members. These wine drinkers get drunk and then they destroy, beat people, etc. There are a lot of external costs. So one way to eliminate this failure, I don't know whether that's market failure or not, but social failure, one way to resolve this failure is to prohibit wine consumption. So Islamic government in the 7th century imposed restrictions on wine production. Don't produce it, and the wine industry disappeared. But this one in Gaza wine had been famous for centuries, I hear. Okay, coming closer to the modern problems, global warming is a hot issue these days. I don't want to brainwash anybody here, so I will just summarize the basics of the debates. Is there a global warming? Scientists say yes. We see every year hurricanes that are becoming more vicious every year, and glaciers in the Arctic region just melting and so on. Yes, there is global warming, but there are two groups with with different opinions, polar opposites. One group says global warming is caused by burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and gas. And the other group basically says, no, it is caused by the Milankovitch cycles that are 100,000 years long. About 100,000 years ago and 200,000 years ago, we had similar problem, melting of glaciers and so on. So this is just recurring. We're following the cycle. Yes, global warming is occurring now, but it has to do with the 100-year, 100,000 year cycles, so-called Milankovitch cycles, okay? And they propose solutions like, oh, we need to use electric cars, hydrogen cars, etc. Well, electricity, where is electricity coming from? Well, mostly by burning fossil fuels, coal and gas. This is not a solution to the carbon problem. What about electric cars, hydrogen cars? Well, hydrogen-powered vehicles also reduce emissions, but hydrogen is produced mostly from natural gas. There is another way, which is to break up water into two components, hydrogen and oxygen, okay? But the more popular one is the production of hydrogen by decomposing, by burning natural gas. So this is not a final solution either. That remains, which is the most efficient way to produce energy in the future? Well, that depends on our research and development. Okay, here's another example of transboundary externality. So far, we have been talking about water contamination and air pollution, etc., using agricultural chemicals. But like tree leaves do not fall only on your property, passes the property boundaries and fly away to other regions. Likewise, all the toxic chemicals produced by China, they blow away, blow east in the easterly direction, and that's why Koreans and Japanese are wearing, especially South Koreans are wearing masks, face masks, long before COVID virus became rampant this year. Yellow sand, they call it yellow sand, also known as Asian dust from Mongolia, Inner Mongolia and the rest of China. Also, there was a few years ago, there was a atomic reactor blow up in Fukushima, February 2nd of 2019. No, this is the publication of this article. I think maybe 2014 or so. And the 3 atomic reactors were destroyed, blew up, and toxic radioactive chemicals were released. And the cesium, radioactive cesium level is very high. And cesium's half-life is 30 years. So for the next 100 years or so, you don't want to come in contact with cesium that are released. Now, Japanese government is threatening and publicly announcing that they're going to release all these radioactive chemicals. Okay. So how do we resolve these external costs and benefits? So if an economic decision imposes external economies, we to other countries or other industries, we call it spillover benefits. When costs occur, we call it external diseconomy or spillover cost. So I gave you examples of apple orchards or almond. The picture, that photograph was almond orchard, right? Almond orchard and beekeepers. They are helping each other. But the service is not free. The question is who benefits more than the other? Apparently the almond orchards owner, almond orchards benefit far more. So they invite beekeepers every once in a while in the spring for their pollination service and pay for the service. Here is another picture of water contamination. This is a polluted seascape in Hong Kong. This picture is from another vendor. And you can see this Hong Kong land price is very high, so they're extending the coastline of Hong Kong Harbor or Victoria Harbor. So they are building all this structure to expand their business. And obviously, this contaminator is not good for fishery. And here is a picture of fishermen collecting all this fresh seafood in the surroundings in Sai Kung. This region is called Sai Kung. Apparently this place was used to collect tributes from neighboring countries like Vietnam or other countries. So that's the meaning of Sai Kung. And they bring all this fresh seafood, very expensive, but very tasty. I dined in restaurants nearby who buy all this seafood from these fishermen. And I'm sure these fish products are contaminated, but they are far less contaminated than other river fish. So everything is relative. Prime Minister Modi of India vows to abolish all single-use plastics. Like when you go to grocery store, they pack your plastics or paper. They ask questions. So if you get plastics, it is one-time single-use plastic, and that's causing a huge problem in the world. All these single-use plastics pile up in the center of the Pacific Ocean. Is causing a huge amount of hazards to fish in the ocean. So Prime Minister Modi announced that he's going to eliminate all this single-use plastics by the year 2022. What about air pollution? How bad is it? So someone analyzed how severe air pollution is. Relative, you have to compare with something. So they use cigarette, the hazards of cigarette consumption. So this is written by, this analysis was done by Richard Muller and Elizabeth Muller. So here are some numbers. In the United States, in cities of the United States, the air quality is like consuming 1.4 cigarette. In European cities, in Europe, European Union, Air quality is as bad as consuming 1.6 cigarettes. In Beijing, on a bad day, on average day, when I visited, I didn't see, well, my eyesight is not that reliable. My nose is not very good either. Other experts say that it hurts their nose. I'm not that sensitive. On a bad day, it is like consuming two and a half packs of cigarettes. Harbin is on the eastern side, eastern end of China. That's like 4.5 packs of cigarettes. Shenyang, that's the worst record. That is like 6 packs of cigarettes every day. Very bad. So all these plastic bottles, vinyl sacks, they somehow all congregate in the Asian coast here. So they pile up, these garbage pile up. So rivers in Hong Kong are not suitable for swimming because your skin would absorb toxic chemicals. So they are allowing only boat rowing contests every year. And there are 2 popular movies. If you have access to these movies, that would be great. You can watch Erin Brockovich. She's a beautiful lady. She was a former Miss Wichita, and she was doing some legal work, encouraging the residents to file a lawsuit against the company that was producing contaminants called chromium, hexavalent chromium, or in simple terms, chromium-6. This is supposed to cause lung cancers. So she helped, this movie is about how Erin Brockovich helps Hinckley residents to file a lawsuit against this company. And she was successful in getting $1/3 of $1 billion, $333 million from this company, so that the residents of Hinckley would be partially compensated for their loss. Okay, so how do we handle these negative externalities? So let's consider a steel factory. Steel factory requires a lot of water. So there is a river and there is an upstream farm, which is steel producer, and they're dumping a lot of toxic contaminants in the river. And here is a downstream farm, fish farm, and all these salmons and trouts are contaminated. Okay, that's the story. Downstream, there is an upstream farm and downstream farm, and toxic chemicals are dumped right here, destroying or adversely affecting fishery products. So how do we resolve this problem? Okay, let's consider the impact of external costs. So how does the private market allocate resources? Okay, here is the demand curve. Demand curve is basically society's marginal benefit schedule, which is downsloping like this, okay? And production costs, the firm is steel producer, has private marginal cost. And they dump toxic chemicals in the river. So the rest of the society bear the cost of these toxic chemicals. So this social cost includes the cost, marginal cost that were imposed upon all members, not just these producers, but all members, all other members, all other producers and consumers combined, okay? So we are adding this spillover cost imposed on other members of the society, and this is the social marginal cost. So what is the socially optimal level of output? The intersection of social marginal cost and marginal benefit schedule occurs right here. That is, so that output Q1 is socially optimal level of output. But we're not asking these companies, we're not asking this company to bear this cost. They just dump the chemicals, hoping that nobody would notice it and nobody complains. It takes years before Hinckley residents figure out why this is occurring. So burden of proof is on the losers, okay? Always when a member commits a crime, the burden of proof is on the losers. Okay, so what can we do? In the absence of government intervention, the society is producing too much. Socially optimal level is Q1. In the absence of government intervention, they are producing Q2, which is too much, okay? So something has to be done. So overproduction is the outcome. So what can we do about this? There are a few solutions. One is, you firms are evil. Stop it altogether, like the Islamic government in Gaza. No wine production. Wine is not good for you. Here is a Belgian protesters. These Belgians, they are demanding the closure of nuclear power plants. This happened after the Fukushima accident, okay? Germany banned the construction of new nuclear reactors. Likewise, Belgians are banning construction of nuclear power plants. So stop. Dole is the name of the city where this nuclear reactor is. There's another Tihange, okay? Ban the production, ban the construction of these nuclear power plants. Likewise, in India, as I mentioned before, Prime Minister Modi of India said he's gonna ban all single-use plastic. We have not approached this level yet. Germany banned the construction of nuclear power plants altogether. Uranium, half-life of the uranium-238 is $4.5 billion. So we have to ban this. If there is 1 in a billion chance to have a nuclear accident, nuclear blow up, we should ban it altogether. Japanese government, you can't trust. They have probably 10% chance. And that's why, because of tsunami, they had not anticipated tsunami there, and all these nuclear power plants are liable. Chernobyl accidents occurred some more than 10 years ago, I guess. Uranium-235, half-life of uranium-235 is 700 million years. So these lands will be permanently cursed. Such cities contaminated by uranium, atomic power plants, are not suitable for human habitation for at least 20,000 years, I was told. Here is a practical solution. Hong Kong's mass transit railway, they have two subway systems. Railway is connected to MTR and subway. Railway and subway are connected, and in these trains or subways, you are not allowed to drink anything, eat anything, no drinking, no beer drinking, etc. On not only on the trains, but also in the entire system, stairs, gates, etc. Why? Because otherwise they need to hire large number of people to clean up, which is a big mess and time consuming. So Hong Kong mass transit railway system altogether imposed a ban, no eating, no drinking whatsoever, okay? So that's a drastic solution, but it's working. It is working. It is working. The other method is moderating pollution activities. But in all these solutions, population control should be a component because the contamination, water pollution, etc., is occurring because we have too many people. And currently we have a population of, world population is 7 billion. And by the end of this century, this is expected to rise to 11 billion. And 1 billion comes from India. And the remaining 3 billion people will come from, experts say, from Africa. I think upper limit is probably 8 billion. After 8 billion, I think beyond 8 billion people, life is going to be very tough. Okay. So in India, Varanasi is a city on the India-Nepal border. This is also the founding place of Buddhism about 2,500 years ago. And this city, I think I showed you the air quality in China and other cities, but air quality in Varanasi is even more toxic than Beijing. This Varanasi is even worse in terms of air quality. But Varanasi or Benares, different spelling. So this city is famous for famous among Indians. This is where Indians, old Indians, come to wash their bodies before they die, I hear. And millions of people swarm this area, wash their bodies and so on. India is promising. They will have sewage treatment factory there, treating more than 400 million liters per day. In the United States, we have not reached this level. We have EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. EPA is regulating our pollution, water contamination. And this is a political and normative issue. So I'm not gonna say who is right. You can judge yourself reading newspapers and other magazines. But some people say that British Journal Economist says America is overregulated. There are so many regulations. Regulated firms must answer 383 questions that break down into 1,420 sub-questions. So regulators themselves have to study them. It's so complicated. In the future, they may be employing artificial intelligence in the future to understand and to comply with the regulations. This is an ongoing process, and two different political parties, Democrats and Republicans, have differing views about how much to regulate. Okay, I'm not going to take sides on this issue. So how do we regulate? Okay, in the absence of regulation, okay, here's demand curve, which is marginal benefit schedule, and this marginal private cost, this is marginal social cost. So the socially optimal level of output will be right here. Without regulation, the private sectors, the free market is going to produce too much. Okay, we will stop here. Any questions? Okay, that's it for today. I will see you on Wednesday, okay? Any questions? Okay, that's it for today. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.